Finney. This is Todd with AV Nirvana. I just wanted you to know the Black Phone achieved reference base. Congratulations. All right, everybody, how's it going? My name is Todd with avnirvana.com, and I'm your host right here on Base Hunters. And today's featured film is The Black Phone. This is episode number 5, and we're really lucky because we actually found a reference base moment in this movie, and we're going to get to that really soon. Okay, so here's a little background on The Black Phone. It first debuted back near the end of 2021, but didn't hit commercial theaters until June of this year, and it didn't stay in theaters all that long. As far as I can tell, it was running for about 6 weeks. It did really well, though. Critics didn't love it, but the audience did love it, and it netted about $160 million worldwide, and that is in box office sales, of course. As you probably know, it is now available on Blu-ray disc. That's Blu-ray with a 7.1 DTS HD MA audio soundtrack. This movie is really case in point as to why I partnered with Kaleidescape for this venture, because Kaleidescape launched this movie back in July. It's the first time that I actually downloaded it onto my own system, and it's available in 4K HDR with lossless Dolby Atmos. So significant upgrade over that Blu-ray disc. As of now, I don't know if there's a 4K disc in the works. It doesn't appear that way. So if you want to see it in 4K with lossless audio, Kaleidescape's the way to go. Now, let's call up the scorecard and get this underway. But before we start, I just want to mention that Michael Scott, our movie guru over at avnirvana.com, has reviewed this Blu-ray disc. I mean, he is the man when it comes to all things movies, and I totally trust his opinion. So it might be interesting for you to also get his take on this flick. All right, and there's our scorecard, and you can see there that I'm giving this movie a B+. I really enjoyed it from start to end. I think the ending has some interesting twists that kind of tie everything together in a unique fashion. You kind of have this little aha moment as things are happening. So yeah, solid movie. I think this is going to be really popular with Halloween coming up. Definitely stick it on your list to watch, if for anything else, it just being a solid film. In terms of picture quality, I'm giving this movie an A-. This is a gorgeous looking film. It has these sepia overtones that totally reminded me of all the photographs that I took as a kid back in the 1970s. They just have that aged vintage look. I mean, the 4K transfer is really nice. It has a lot of detail, but it still has enough grain to kind of give it that nostalgic feel of the decade of the 1970s. And black levels are very reasonable. I mean, this is a dark movie, okay? There's no getting around that. But there's not a lot of scenes where the black kind of impedes your ability to see what's going on. I think that it's a really well done, very, very good looking movie. In terms of audio, The Black Phone gets an A-. It is a just evil sounding movie, perfect for the horror genre. You have lots of activity all around you. There's very little to complain about here. I do think at times it did shift a little forward heavy for me to the front soundstage. But I mean, there are moments where you're in the bowels of this house and it is, I mean, it's creepy. It's really well done. So A- it is. All right, and that brings us to the bass, and The Black Phone really nails it on the bass front. First of all, from a soundtrack perspective, it just has a really nice weight to it on the low end, very well represented. There's also subtleties, such as this low-end rumble that accompanies scenes that take place in this perpetrator's basement. Now, this basement is a really dark and evil place. A lot of bad things have happened there. So when scenes are shown down there, this low-end rumble just kind of portrays that evil in a really interesting fashion. Check out this spectrogram, which captures what I'm talking about. You can see it right in the 40 to 50 hertz range, kind of just hovering there in little yellow splotches. That is the rumble. It's subtle. It's not in your face, but if you have a good system, you're going to hear it. Now, if you're watching this movie on a television with TV speakers, forget about it. I highly doubt that your TV speakers are going to be outputting anything in that range that's going to be audible. But a really good dialed in system, you're going to be treated to some really fun nuanced bass. But let me tell you folks, when it comes to LFE, the Black Phone has a lot more to give, and I think we really need to dig into that right now. Let's talk about the top 3 bass moments in the Black Phone. And we are going to be kicking things off with a reference quality bass scene. That's right folks, we found reference material. If you are a Kaleidescape owner and you own the Black Phone on your system, there's a link right down in the description to a script that I've created. These 3 scenes are on that script, all queued up and ready to watch. Okay, so here we find ourselves in chapter 10 at the 1 hour and 16 minute mark.
Is it about you?
Okay, so you can see right there, I mean, that scene has LFE that just punches you in the face with a tremendous amount of energy in the 20 to 30 to 40 hertz range. There's plenty of information that is just trickling right down through the infrasonics. I mean, it is just a wonderful bass moment. And then it has this way of just kind of tapering off in very subtle fashion. It just sounds wonderful. It's A+ stuff. Here's a 20-second snapshot of that scene on a larger spectrogram graph, and you can just see, I mean, how gnarly this bass is and just how active and diverse it is. It's just wonderful. And what you're seeing there not only sounds great, but it just gives this scene this just like evil feeling that it's noteworthy, and it's just a really, really excellent moment. Okay, moving along, we find ourselves in chapter 12 at the 1 hour 23 minute mark. So not too much beyond what we were just talking about. This is the second most punishing bass scene of the movie, and there's probably only really 2 if I'm being honest. But it's another really good one that just hits hard right from the get-go with a ton of energy. And here's a more global view of that on a larger spectrogram graph. And you can see just in the opening nanosecond of that bass moment, it is just explosive and powerful and deep. Okay, now for our third bass moment, and this one isn't too much further down the road. It is in chapter 12 at the 1 hour 27 minute mark, and for Kaleidescape users out there, this is labeled D in the script file. This finds us back down in the basement once again, and it's one of those LFE moments that has that nice little kind of bass drop that just kind of drops this feeling of dread and terror into a movie moment. This is what it looks like on a spectrogram, and let me just point out here, there you see it right there. It actually starts off rather shallow and then digs a little deeper as it just injects that moment with just some terror, I guess is the best word. It's not a particularly hard-hitting scene. I mean, you can see most of the bass is in the 40 to 50 hertz range, nothing really digging down that deep. But it's just, you know, it's another one of those moments that's well executed. It just adds a lot of feeling and emotion to the moment, and very worthy of being one of the top 3 bass moments of the Black Phone. All right, so this is really cool. This show is very young, but we just found our first reference bass moment. I'm going to keep a list over at avnirvana.com. There will be a link down in the description if you want to see a list of movies and timestamps of scenes in movies that are reference bass according to what we're finding here on Bass Hunters. That's where you can find it. All right, that's all I've got for you today. If you want to get in touch with me, you can do that through Twitter. My handle there is @avwoofer. And of course, you can always find me at the forum, avnirvana.com. My username there is my name. That's Todd Anderson. We've got Jurassic World Dominion and Top Gun Maverick coming up next. So definitely hit like and subscribe. We'll see you soon.